Big potential news for UFC 311. The rumors are swirling around of a possible Islam Makhachev and Arman Tsarukyan second bout to headline that in January. There's an update of Shavkat, of who he wants to fight at UFC 310, a possible interim title for welterweight. UFC 309 updates on John Jones and Stipe Miocic. Dustin Poirier's got another update as well. We're going to be having a look at Topuria's apparent beef with the greatest football player of all time, Cristiano Ronaldo. There's a really stupid referee for dollar fighting championships that almost had a fighter die. Then we're going to be giving you a quick Khalil Roundtree update. Stick around and let's go and explore the news today. So the first bit of news that I want to get to, as I mentioned before, this is on Khabib Nurmagomedov's Fight School official page. You can see over here. You can see over here. And okay, I've obviously translated this to English because I don't understand Russian. But essentially, I want to just get to this first post over here. Now, they've put this up 14 hours ago. Nurmagomedov MMA School, the official page. Again, as you can see, UFC 311, January 18th, Los Angeles, Islam Makhachev versus Arman Tsarukyan. Could you guys imagine if this becomes true? Now, just interestingly enough, Topology is like on top of these things, because if you go to Islam Makhachev and Arman Tsarukyan's Topology, the rumored bouts are there already. This will be the fourth title defense if Islam Makhachev gets it done. And I just want to go back down again. So if we look at the last time that these two fought, I've always been a big fan of Arman Tsarukyan. I've been saying that he's going to be the one to dethrone Islam Makhachev. I think if you look at the first fight, when both of them fought over here, January 2019, Arman Tsarukyan was 22 years old. Took the fight on relatively short notice, not super short notice. Islam Makhachev was 27 years old back then. Obviously, since then, both fighters have grown an incredible amount. I mean, Islam Makhachev is probably as unbeatable a fighter as there is right now. I think he's rightfully top of the pound for pound ratings, especially if you look at what he just did to Dustin Poirier. And I mean, the Volk ones, of course, you know, people can say he's not a lightweight, he was a featherweight, but I mean, if you look at what he did to Dustin Poirier, putting him away, tough fight, definitely. He put away Charles Oliveira as well recently, put away Dan Hooker with ease. I mean, he's about as unbeatable a fighter as you get at the moment. But Arman Tsarukyan, man, this guy, yes, he had his loss to Gamrot. I re-looked at that fight again. I remember watching that fight thinking, he got hard done by there. That was a very close decision. I mean, it could have gone either way. They probably gave it to Gamrot on the balance of things because of his later rounds performance, and that stuck fresh in the memory. Got a couple of takedowns there. Charles Oliveira was a split decision, but he still managed to get the win. He utterly destroyed Beneil. I mean, that was a scary performance by him. This fight over here, again, was a close fight. I think Islam edged possibly rounds 1 and 2. One of the judges actually gave a round to Arman. But it was a very close fight, the Islam fight. And I think Islam did edge it for me, 29-28. But you got to remember, the only person so far, and the toughest fight that Islam has had, has been with Arman Tsarukyan. I mean, Arman's wrestling in that fight then, and obviously he's gotten better. He's gotten much better. I think Islam's wrestling has gotten a little bit better, but I think his striking has come on in leaps and bounds. His wrestling is very similar to what it was, and again, very high level. So it's not a bad thing that his wrestling stayed similar. But I think Arman Tsarukyan has done enough, and he's coming into the prime of his career. I've been saying it forever. He's going to beat Islam Makhachev. He's going to be the one to beat him. I said it yesterday again in a stream as well, when I was reacting to the Max Holloway news. But this is some big news if this does actually happen. And I don't think it's just a tactic from the team trying to push for this fight. I honestly think that this fight is most likely happening. And honestly, early predictions, I think Arman Tsarukyan is going to be the guy to do it, to beat Makhachev. If he doesn't, I will not be surprised. But yeah, don't be surprised to see. You guys can clip this, play it for me. If Islam wins, I'm going to give him. I'm not an Islam hater. I just really think Arman Tsarukyan is the guy to do it. So big news coming out 14 hours ago, and let's see if this news comes to fruition. So the next little bit of news I want to just look at is the news of Shavkat Rahmanov. Yesterday was on the Holwani show. This is just been posted to Jedi Goodman's page, so I'll put the link in the description on X. And basically, Shavkat Rahmanov says he would like to fight Usman for an interim title at UFC 310. We said that as well in the previous bit of news, that I would actually like that fight to happen. I think it would be a banger of a fight, particularly that Usman, I think, firstly, Usman will take this fight on short notice. I think he will, unless weight is an issue. But secondly, Ian Gary was another person I would have liked to see take on Shavkat, but now with Ian Gary fighting Joaquin Buckley, I don't think that happens. I think it might happen next. But I think an interim title is, and I said this last week, an interim title is probably the best way to go. And then you unify the belt, the interim title and the undisputed title when Bilal's back and Bilal's healthy. But let's have a listen to what Shavkat says. They have summarized it here for us, but I'm going to play you guys the clip and then give you my thoughts.
Yeah, I believe there's worthy opponent available,
Let me rather say what his manager translated for him.
I'm ready to save the card too, if it's for the interim belt. And I believe Usman is the worthy opponent who's also probably going to be ready to jump in,
So he's ready and willing to save the card if it's for an interim belt. So I wonder if they don't offer him an interim belt, if he's probably not going to want to save the card. He thinks Usman's a worthy opponent. Obviously, I mean, one of the long time champions, arguably the greatest welterweight of all time. I do still think that GSP is the greatest welterweight of all time, but some people have Usman up there. And, Usman might be ready and willing to jump in.
To face me.
And so maybe this question is for you, Sayed, since you are his manager. Is there any talks of this happening? Is there any talks of keeping him on the card and fighting someone like Usman for an interim title?
Are there any talks of this happening, of him fighting anybody for an interim title? Let's just be specific there. And let's be honest. Let's be specific there, for an interim title. Not just fighting anybody.
Yeah, right now negotiation is going on, and obviously they're talking. I don't know if they're talking to someone else, but I'm sure they offered Kamaru too.
There are talks of something happening. They don't know if it's offered to Kamaru Usman. You guys can check my thoughts, as I said, in the previous news video. It's in this playlist. Go have a look. I want the Usman fight because it was Usman or Ian Gary. I want the Usman fight. I think this is going to be such a banger. I think Usman actually has a style, has the pedigree, if it's the old Usman, to be able to beat him. And it will all be about confidence. Is Usman confident enough? Usman survived Khamzat at 85 on short notice. Shavkat, very, very similar. Probably even better for me than Khamzat, particularly at 170. So we might have ourselves a main event for UFC 310, ladies and gentlemen. Right, next little bit of news. Obviously, we know UFC 309 is happening pretty much like 12 days away. Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic. I want to just show you guys something interesting because I think it's last time we might see a lot of your favorite fighters, and that's kind of a theme of this of today's video. But essentially, if you guys go onto YouTube, I'll just adjust this page for you guys. So Jon Jones, coach Brandon Gibson approaching UFC 309 like it's our last rodeo. So this is on MMA Fighting on SBN. I just want you guys, so essentially there's a summary here on Sherdog. Sherdog, I'll put this link in the description. Sherdog is also one of the OGs of MMA news, so please go check it out. This is by Tristan Critchfield. If you guys want to listen to the timestamps pretty much of what I'm going to talk about today, so 11:30 give or take on that video. And here's the little bit of news. So I think physically, mentally, he could go. So this was obviously asked, is this the last time that we're going to be seeing Jon Jones? I think physically, mentally, he could go in there and have 5 or 6 great performances. Now, let's be honest, guys. Mentally, I don't think John Jones will have an issue. Physically, that's the big question. I don't know if he can have 1 or 2 more after this. I mean, there's talk of Tom Aspinall. They did mention Tom Aspinall in this video, because they say there's always the next contender, and the next contender, and the next contender. John Jones essentially could retire right now as the GOAT. He doesn't really need this fight, and that's what they say in there as well. But I think 1 or 2 more fights even might be a stretch, depending on who he fights. In an ideal world, he fights Francis Ngannou. He finds a way to become a free agent, and they fight each other for some mega money in Saudi or something like that. But yeah, I don't know. 5 or 6, John Jones, 37 years old. I don't know. That might be a bit of a stretch, but never doubt the GOAT. He could have 5 or 6 more great performances. He told MMAfighting.com, there's nothing left for John to prove. 100% agree there. I think he really wants to fight with Stipe. I think this fight will help solidify John's status as a great heavyweight champion, but it's not something we talk about every night at the gym. Again, all due respect to someone like Cyril Gane, even Francis in a sense, Stipe Miocic is the consensus greatest heavyweight of all time in a lot of people's eyes. So, consensus in a lot of people's eyes, yes. So, for him to beat Stipe Miocic, yes, he's 42 years old. Yes, he hasn't fought in 2 years. Yes, he's coming off a loss. But Stipe Miocic on your resume, definitely for legacy, for me, better than fighting a Francis Ngannou or even a Tom Aspinall. For now, because Tom Aspinall could still go on and do great things. He says, we definitely have all eyes on November 16th, but each time I go to practice, I'm approaching this as this is my last camp. I'm giving it my all. Now, that's the coach. Now, I do think this is probably the last fight. They did say that they were looking in an ideal world. If they could have made the Francis Ngannou fight happen, they would have. I'm again hopeful that we just get to see it. Just let the fans see it for once and for all. Just put a rubber stamp on it. Go and fight Francis Ngannou. Maybe big money in Saudi, Riyadh season. I'd watch it. I'd definitely go and watch it. But again, if you look at what his coach later on says, it's part of that timestamp. It's leading up to this timestamp. Basically, and again, here at about 25:53 to 26, he talks about Stipe Miocic and legacy and everything like that. Again, he does mention there'll always be the next challenger, the next challenger, the next challenger. So I like the fact that they're looking at John Jones going out on a high. And again, if you read here, he says, if we get 1 more after this, if we get 2 more, that would be a great blessing. I'm also ready to see John hang it up. And that's very important, because if you finish on a high, yes, there might be some questions about what could have been, but a guy like Khabib Nurmagomedov, he finished on a high. He was at the top of the game. He had many fights left. He was young, but he's always going to be 30-0. His legacy is cemented. He never has to worry about anything ever again, legacy-wise. So John Jones, again, man, GOAT for me. If he beats the best heavyweight of all time, consensus, it just solidifies him as the greatest of all time. So basically, just to finish the quote, put the belt up. I'd prefer to walk away, obviously, earlier than later. Out of all the fighters, John deserves to walk away anytime he wants. I'm going to support those guys. And again, you want to walk away on your own terms. Fighting is such a brutal sport. And John Jones has been up at the top. I mean, this is going to be his 17th title fight. I mean, John Jones, it's been like 13, 14 years of him at the top, even longer. I think like 2009, 2010. I mean, he was up at the top. So no one's had that level of longevity. No one has had that type of career. It's just you don't want him to go on further than what he should, and end up becoming maybe like I wouldn't say a journeyman. I don't think John Jones will ever become a journeyman, but you don't want the same thing to happen to him as what happened to Anderson Silva. You hang on too long. We see it all the time. Retire on a high. This will be the last time I think we see John Jones. Definitely the last time we see Stipe Miocic. I don't think we're going to see a 42-year-old Stipe fight, win, lose or draw fight after this. I think he's giving everything. That's what makes him so dangerous. That's what they say in this interview. Again, at timestamp 26, you can go and have a listen about the legacy of it. I'll link it in the description. And this could be the last time we see the greatest fighter of all time in John Jones. Next little bit of news, speaking of being the last time that we see fighters, this tweet, this is on Dustin Poirier's X. This tweet by Ace00 says, Dana White, make blessed MMA versus Dustin Poirier for the BMF title. If this is Dustin's final fight, this is the one we need. First off, get that BMF title out of here. It's such a gimmick belt. Like, I'm not a fan of the BMF title. I don't like this thing. It looks pretty badass, like, let's be honest. But, like, what is the lineage? I'd actually like to go and have a look. Let's go have a look at this lineage. Just a little sidetrack. Okay, I just clicked the next story. Never mind. So, my big problem with the BMF title is, if you're going to make the BMF title, actually have people defend it. So if you like here, Jorge Masvidal was versus Nate Diaz was the first fight for BMF title. Okay. Then he lost to Usman. He never defended the belt. So Usman was then the BMF title, if you're going on lineage, BMF champion. Usman lost to Edwards. Edwards lost to Bilal. So Bilal Muhammad is the lineal BMF champion. Here they just went and did Poirier versus Gaethje. That was now the second time. This is actually a time someone defended the belt. And then they went and said, okay, well, let's make him defend it again. Max Holloway. So Max Holloway beats Gaethje. Just lost to Ilia Topuria. The belt wasn't on the line. So why did they make... Anyway, rant over on that. This is just a gimmick belt for me. But if you guys remember, the two of them did fight before. This is when Max Holloway, again, I did a reaction to what's next for Max Holloway. I'm done, the next chapter. You guys can go and have a look at that. But essentially, Max Holloway is moving up to 155. And the fight that everybody seems to be calling for is Max Holloway versus Dustin Poirier. And I think, you know what, you've seen Dustin Poirier versus Justin Gaethje. You've seen Dustin Poirier versus Dan Hooker, excuse me. You have seen him against Max Holloway. But as Max Holloway says in his video, they called him Muffin Top Max because he literally just did everything he could to get to 155. Even in the Gaethje fight, he talks about how he essentially always knew he was going to go back down to 145. So for me, I'd like to see, and I said it yesterday, I'd like to see Max Holloway versus Dustin Poirier. I'd like to see it when Max Holloway actually goes and takes some time off and gets bigger and wants to fight at 155 the proper way, not the way that he did previously. So this could be the last time we see Dustin Poirier. I don't want to see a BMF title tournament. I don't want to see it happen. I think we've seen a lot of those fights anyway, but if they make it, I'll probably watch anyway. I just think they should just have, they should have these guys fight each other and leave the gimmicks to the WWE because they do it better. Right, the next little bit of news is an apparent beef. When people are maybe blowing this out of proportion between Ilia Topuria and Cristiano Ronaldo. Cristiano Ronaldo, 100% the best and greatest player for Real Madrid ever. Topuria, obviously a massive Real Madrid fan, so I think this is probably hurt Topuria a little bit because it's probably one of his heroes. You can't be a Real Madrid fan and not be a fan of Ronaldo. So let's just listen to the clip first and let's see what all the fuss is about, and then we can get to Topuria's reply.
Yeah, what do you think the main event?
This is obviously PFL in Saudi, backstage. Probably these guys thought they were having a private conversation. They probably didn't think they were being recorded. Maybe they did know. But they're talking about Max Holloway and Ilia Topuria ahead of UFC 308, obviously. So what do you think of the fight?
I love Max. He's tough that fight or
Topuria speaks too much. I mean, is he wrong though? Didn't Topuria speak too much? Now, again, if you don't watch a lot of MMA, and I know Ronaldo's a massive MMA fan, so he's not just saying this, not understanding MMA and not having watched MMA. I mean, he's been a huge MMA fan for a while, so you might only see him now going to PFL events and stuff like that, but he's been a fan for a very, very long time. I know this for a fact because his brother trains jiu-jitsu and he's always just been into it. If you look at Topuria and you don't know, or you aren't convinced that he's as good as he said he was, that statement might be true that he talks too much. And again, some people, Ronaldo is was friends, I don't know if they're still friends, with Conor McGregor, who talks a lot, but also friends with somebody like Khabib Nurmagomedov, Francis Ngannou, humble people. And I think Ronaldo, again, confident, super, super confident. A lot of people mistake him for being arrogant. Maybe people think he talks too much sometimes, but he is talking facts. And again, Topuria is also talking facts. But yeah, this is obviously the bit that he takes exception to, talks too much. He also says he didn't, let's just rewind that a little bit so you can hear it again.
Hesitate too much. He didn't show. I think when he gets votes, because of that kick
from this.
he didn't recover.
Yeah, I agree. And Volkanovski won the first round. Poirier did a good job of like kind of wedging him in the corner post and trapped him there. He got him trapped and then fight with the top guys.
So first of all, he says that, with Volkanovski was compromised by the Islam Makhachev head kick. A lot of people, including myself, thought that Volk came back too quickly after that kick. I think taking that fight on short notice as well was a big mistake. And really, that meter that we always talk about, the knockout meter, Volk's faded. But I do think, though, like I said it before the fight, I called Topuria to knock out Volkanovski, to be the first to do it. I also called him to be the first to knock out Max. And not the first to knock out Volkanovski at featherweight, let me say. And I think he would have won anyway. The best Volkanovski wouldn't have beat Topuria. This Max Holloway was one of the best Max Holloways we've ever seen. So, to say he came back too quickly, I definitely agree, but I don't think that's really an excuse. He didn't beat top guys. I mean, technically, that is right. If you compare their resumes pre-UFC 308, actually even pre-Volk, but yeah, mainly UFC 308, Volk had a better resume. People like Max had a better resume. So it is true what he's saying, but I think it's a little bit, I don't know. It's a little bit harsh. Let's just listen to the last bit of what Ronaldo says.
He got him trapped and then fight with the top guys.
If you match our respect.
Yeah,
Never care. This is why we beat up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's weird, right? Because what he's saying is actually true. Like, Max has never been KO'd. This is not before the fight, obviously. And he says, if he beats Max, then I will respect him. So, look, respect is big among fighters, obviously. But fighting is one of those weird sports where, I mean, we saw it with DC and Derek Lewis, where Derek Lewis got pissed at DC for critiquing his fights. People have gotten pissed at Joe Rogan for critiquing their fights. People take things very, very personally. And Topuria didn't really, I mean, he had a good response, I think. He says, I didn't expect someone like you to be unable to distinguish between confidence and arrogance. And that's true, because a lot of people have been calling Ronaldo arrogant for years, but it's actually just confidence. It's confidence. But at the end of the day, we all reflect our own reality on others. Okay? I wish you the best for what remains of your career, and God bless your family. So obviously staying, respectful. I think it's hard to argue that anybody in any sport has achieved what Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi have achieved in football. There are some people that have, there's Djokovic and Michael Jordans and guys like that. But obviously Ilia Topuria, being a Real Madrid fan, being a Ronaldo fan, I'm sure, respectful reply. I don't think there's too much in this. I think people have just like a little bit of drama. They're obviously trying to piggyback on the Ronaldo name because, again, Francis Ngannou is sitting right there. Did Ilia Topuria say anything about Francis Ngannou? Did the media say anything about Francis Ngannou? Of course not. Of course not. Firstly, as a featherweight, you're not going to say jack shit about a heavyweight. Most definitely not. So I think it's easier for him to go after Ronaldo, bigger name, not a fighter. Same thing with the media, but I don't think there's much in this. I don't think Ronaldo's trying to be disrespectful. If he comes across disrespectful or something's going to be disrespectful, he usually says he prefers not to speak. But I just think it's an opinion. It's a personal preference. He liked Max more, and some of the things he's saying were true, but I don't think there's much in this, to be honest with you. I think people are just trying to sensationalize things again. The next little bit of news. So yeah, I want to give you guys, before I get to this, I want to give you guys a bit of a warning, or graphic trigger warning, or whatever warning. You guys are fight fans, so you're used to seeing knockouts and stuff, but I hate seeing stuff like this, because at least in a knockout or a submission, the guys are cognizant, they're trying to defend themselves. But here, a referee, this is, by the way, this is from Dalla Fighting. I believe it's Kazakh. It's a Kazakh organization. Yeah, and this is by Stephen Ray. Again, just want to play you guys the clip and then give you guys my thoughts afterwards. But a Von Flue choke followed by some of the worst reffing you've seen in a long time. Now, again, I don't understand Kazakh, but I'm going to play this clip. And apologies if it's not Kazakh, if it's something else, but let's play this quickly. So Zuma Bekov goes for a takedown, and his opponent goes to Raoult, goes for a guillotine, which you'll never get from there. And then the defense, one of the defenses of Von Flue choke. Raoult's still okay. You can see his arms start to fade, and there he's out. And right there, listen to the commentators, guys. Listen, even the commentators can see it. Now, okay, the referee's angle is different and everything, but the commentators can see it. And you'll start to see Zumabekov realize. And apparently, I mean, I can't hear what the referee's saying, but apparently the referee was telling him to work. So that's crazy. Zumabekov goes off. Dude, that guy looks distraught. Like, fighting, again, when you can defend yourself, it's a contest. Vicious things happen in fighting, but at least the people can defend themselves and they have a fighting chance. Here, it's just kind of like, I mean, the guy's like, he knows he's out. So luckily he stopped. He didn't carry on going and try to hit him. Okay, 1 second left of the clip. And I mean, look at that face. Look at his face. He looks distraught. I mean, that is some of the worst refereeing. Telling the guy to work, telling him to continue. I don't think this referee is going to be refereeing anytime soon. Herb Dean. Oh, dude, imagine Steve Mazzagatti. That's like the Steve Mazzagatti of that part of the world. But yeah, man, very, very sad to see. I don't know this referee's history. I don't know anything about him. But yeah, I mean, I don't think he was unsighted or anything. And I would imagine that when you're refereeing, especially when you've trained, you are looking for stuff like this. You're looking to see if the guy goes out, because a Von Flue choke particularly is one of those chokes where you're out without even having any warning. Like, you might have a brief split second where you see stars. Like, it's not like a lot of other chokes where you can kind of feel you're about to go out. That one is very, very quick. It's almost instant. So should have been trained better. Probably was trained well, but should have been more aware for that. And just want to read some of the comments. The ref didn't even check. That fighter could have died because of the horrible ref. Thank goodness. The other fighter let it go. Tell him he needs more action after you already choked him unconscious. Exactly. I mean, what the hell, man? As if an arm going limp is the telltale sign of a fighter who's conscious and fighting back. Exactly. I mean, it's easy to say after the fact, but I mean, just come on, guys. Refereeing, for the most part, the refs are good. I think it's the judging that people have more of an issue with, but stuff like this, I mean, look at the guy's face, dude. He's even like not feeling good about it. So I hope this guy's okay. I think he should be fine, but yeah, that went on much longer than it should have. The next little bit of news involves Khalil Roundtree. Obviously, he had his fight at UFC 307 versus Alex Pereira. Had some very, very bad injuries. I mean, you guys can remember he was cut open and everything. And it's good to see that he's posted an update that the scars have healed, or the cuts have healed, the wounds have healed. Don't know about the scars healing, but he's got his battle scars now. I mean, that was, for him, I guess, a reminder of one of the greatest performances that he's ever had, even in defeat. I mean, he took Alex Pereira all the way pretty much before his body just couldn't handle it anymore. But it's just good to see that he's in good spirits. I mean, if you look, he's on holiday. with his family, having a good time, just enjoying life. Really good to see that things have kind of healed up for him, and I can't wait to see what his next fight entails. There's a bit of training maybe. Really became a big fan of Khalil Roundtree's after that performance, but it's good to see him looking healthy, looking to have recovered from everything, and I cannot wait to see what happens next. So that was the news for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know what your thoughts are on UFC 309, 310, 311, Dustin Poirier, Max Holloway moving up to 155. Are we going to see the two of them fight each other? Let me know what your thoughts are on that referee error, Topuria versus Ronaldo and Khalil Roundtree. What do you guys want to see next for him? As always, please make sure to like this video, comment, subscribe, and share it far and wide. And I will see you next time. Cheers, everybody.